And hello everyone, this is Steve Goodman, Training Coordinator at Protected Trust, bringing you Protected Trust Live on this lovely Thursday. Joining me today, Jon, Senior Solutions Architect for Protected Trust.
Hey everybody.
And how are you doing today, Jon?
It's good to be here, Steve. I'm doing good.
All right, so today's topic, it's one that I've been afraid of for a very long time because I, like many people, don't understand it. We're talking about Power BI today.
Okay.
All right, but you know Power BI.
I have used Power BI quite a bit.
And what have you used Power BI for, just as an example?
So let's kind of talk about what Power BI is
Sure.
to start off with. BI stands for Business Intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be if you ever used Excel and created pivot tables where you take data that's in a tabular form or data sets or stored in a SQL database, these different types of places that data can live. When you take all that information and you put it into an analytics engine, they can make it visual so you can understand it at a glance. You are now using Power BI. Mm-hmm. You might be using it in something else today, but everybody uses Power BI type solutions somewhere in their business. It's going to be a report, a pie graph, a timeline type of a deal, something that gives you a map and where different people are coming from. That's what Power BI is all about. Here at Protected Trust, one of the things that we use Power BI for is to show statistics on projects that we're running or statistics on support tickets that are open or what status the support ticket is in to make sure that we're meeting our service level agreements. Mm-hmm. And then we also use it in our sales team so we can chart where opportunities are in a pipeline and track cost and opportunity. Missing a word here.
Opportunity
amounts.
Oh, okay.
You know, what revenue?
Mm-hmm.
To help you track revenue, things of that nature. And then we also use Power BI internally just to share data for how many licenses somebody's using. Mm-hmm. And you know, sometimes you have a lot of different people in your organization with different skills or something like that, and you need a registry where you can find out who has this skill. Well, you could put all that into an Excel spreadsheet, put it in Power BI, share that in a team, and now you've got an easy place to go. Who knows how this program works? Who's the administrator for that? What's the on-call phone number for the guy that runs this department if something comes up? You can put all that stuff into Power BI.
I've been describing it on previous live streams as Excel on steroids. Is that a fair?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's where we kind of started. You either, in the old days, you either had Excel and you used your workflow, not your workflows, your pivot tables to visualize that data, or you put it in a SQL database and you had to get your SQL developer and web developer involved, or you bought some expensive piece of software to report on that data, some sort of SQL reporting server. Mm-hmm. And it just was really complicated and it took specialized skills to use it. With Power BI, it's like Excel. It's putting that power back in the hands of your business leaders.
So it'll take something like QuickBooks and it can take the data from that and compile it.
I'm not sure about QuickBooks directly, but if you can export something to a CSV file, then you can import it into Power BI.
Okay.
And what Power BI does is it will integrate with a lot of different online services. So if you're familiar with, I'm going to say REST APIs and things of that nature, you can integrate with anything that will provide data on the web and pull it into Power BI. So Power BI actually has a lot of stuff built into it, and you just click a button and fill out some information to get it. Mm-hmm. But if all else fails, you always have those developer approaches to get something out of that REST API.
All right, well, enough talking about it. Should we see it in action? Or
yeah.
Should we see it in action?
Let's do that.
All right.
So Power BI is something you can find in the All Applications section of Office 365. And I'm going to open it up right here, and what we'll see is that under My Workplaces, there are no data sets because this is your personal workspace. And if you're developing something, playing around with stuff, that's where you'd want to put that stuff is while it's in, you know, experimentation mode or beta testing or what we want to call it. Now under workspaces, every team has a workspace. So if you're using Teams, you create a team, you want to share some Power BI analytics with that team, there's a workspace already there for it. If people have uploaded files to that team, like Excel documents, then you can connect to those Excel documents that are already in Teams, and it will keep that data up to date for you. And we have a team here called Mark 8 Project Team. And we've got a dashboard called Operation Analytics. So I'm going to open that up. Now there's two different sections to this. And I'm going to just pick one of them here. And this is going to be Location Analytics for Website. And here we can see just a whole bunch of different numbers about data, products that this company has related to their Mark 8 project. And you see here we've got our map, we got some plotters, we got some lines and rows, columns. You got just regular numbers. You can filter all that data with these different slicers that we have off to the side. You can select multiple items using the control key, so you can see just where information is coming from.
Wow.
So I'm going to uncheck that filter. Now another fun thing is if you want to filter on a particular size of a product, all you have to do is click inside the graph and it filters the whole page by that thing you just clicked on. So it kind of highlights different information to make it really easy to just get a lot of content out of your dashboard.
And you pulled all this from a CSV file?
Yeah, we'll get back into how to create one of these things in just a second.
Oh, okay.
So another fun thing over here is this, I'm not exactly sure what they call this, but the squares kind of illustrate how big of that piece of the pie is. The smaller the square, the less there is in there. Here we got our count of 5 tweets. We can click on that and it tells us where our tweets came from. It gives us which types of devices they came from. It tells us that it's what category that product's in for this is 2 different visualizations of the same field, the products. And then all the other numbers also adjust at the same time. So we can get to it in here. And then we were talking about how do we get the data into Power BI.
Right.
Well, the easiest way to do that is to click on our Get Data button down here at the bottom. And then we get to choose My Organization. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. This is where you can publish a Power BI application and then allow other people to install that application in their personal workspace. So if you have customers that want to have access to certain types of data, you can publish a Power BI app and give them access to it.
I see.
What I think I want is Files. We're going to go to OneDrive. And then we got income data. And because this is an Excel document, we can import the data or connect to the data. And in order to get the fullest rich capabilities out of Power BI, we want to use import. And what it's going to do is, I was afraid of that, it's going to process that data and put it into your workspace. I'm going to do this in a different file here. Yep. That didn't work.
Well, that was the personal one, right?
Yeah, I had it connecting to show me all of my teams earlier, but it's not doing what I want at the moment. Let's see here. We got a bunch of different services that we can import data from. What I'm looking for is our SharePoint Online. So you got things like MailChimp. If we scroll all the way down here, you're going to find Asana.
So when I asked about QuickBooks earlier, if it was available, it would show up here.
If it was something that has already been developed, it would show up here. Right. We can actually do a quick search.
Aha!
QuickBooks Online is already there.
All right.
So you can pull that QuickBooks beta that you're building reports for in QuickBooks Online and present that through Teams eventually through Power BI, using Power BI.
And so whenever you make a change in QuickBooks, it would reflect automatically in Power BI?
There's typically going to be a synchronization schedule, so it's not going to be instantaneous, but you can get it to update several times a day.
So you don't have to make changes in 2 places?
Right, you're not having to put that data somewhere else to build the report. It's pulling it directly from your cloud service. All right. Well, I have forgotten where to find this stuff in Teams, but I can assure you that it's in there. The other thing that you can do here is the web interface gives you some limited capabilities for importing certain types of data, but then you also have access to the Power BI desktop app, which there's 2 ways you can get the Power BI desktop app. You got this little download button up at the top, and that'll let you download it. Or if you're running Windows 10, you can go to the Microsoft Store, search for Power BI, and there it is. Right now we have it installed. The nice thing about having Power BI installed through the Microsoft Store is it'll kind of help keep you up to date with the latest version of the desktop app, which they come out with new updates just about every month with new features and improvements into the product. So it's always changing.
Do you prefer to use the desktop app over the online app?
The desktop app gives you a lot more flexibility, so yeah, I do.
Okay.
So once you have the desktop app installed, I'm going to jump back over to here, and you can get your data. I'm going to get data. We got a Power BI data set, because we would have already imported this data into Power BI using the web interface. And we got our Contoso Research and Development Spend Analysis data set. We load that up into Power BI. And down over here, we see all the different visualizations that are available to Power BI. And in addition to the ones that are built in, you can always import a custom visual from an online marketplace. And what we're going to see here is that there's quite a few visuals available. And these visuals can be created by anybody, but they give you access to things like this word cloud. You get your bullet chart so you can do your row graphs with some trend lines and other stuff in there. We've got a, let's see if I can remember the name of one of my favorite widgets or visuals.
No, it's called a marketplace, but does it actually cost anything to add any of these?
No, these are all free.
Okay. So marketplace in name only.
It's the place you go looking for stuff.
Yeah, but you add it
free
to
marketplace.
All right. Okay.
Sure. And just time slicer is always a favorite. You get to, if you've got data that you're dealing with in time range, you can use the time slicer to actually pick the time range, whether it's quarters or months, weeks, years. It gives you the ability to just pick the type of time that you want to sort by. I'm going to go to filters here. There we go, smart filter. I'm going to add that filter to our table here. Now we'll notice that the fields over here have table 1, 2, 3, and etc. That's because those are the names of our tabs in Excel. The data sets in Excel use those names, so Power BI uses them too. And let's see, I'm just going to pick a table here. I'm going to select a couple of fields. Come on. And right now we are visualizing it as a table using this grid view. And what we can do is switch to the matrix, which is what you would be more familiar with as the pivot table. And with a pivot table, you can have things nested. And so what we've got right now is, I'm going to switch these around for fun. We can see the products and the value of those products, the sum of those products, and then we can drill into the product and kind of get a breakdown of whether that product was purchased in store, online, print, etc. And then it gives you the total for all those different channels. Once you have your pivot tables and boxes and your different line and stack charts in there, you can publish it to the online service. Now, I had just added this smart filter, so let me use that too. What the smart filter does is it lets you, instead of getting a list of the products, and actually let me show you the two. So we're going to switch this over to our slicer. So you got a list of the products and you can do check boxes on each one that you want to look at. But if you've got a lot of different things in that field, you will be better off getting this type of add-on that lets you type in what you're looking for. So let's start with SH. So now, instead of having to scroll through your list, you type in what you're looking for and pick the one that you want. So we use this slicer a lot because we usually have lots of products, or say you're looking at it by customers. You don't want to list your thousands of customers. You want to just be able to filter on the customer. So I'm going to leave those right there, and then we're going to publish this guy. Now, before you can publish it, you have to give it a name. And it's important to realize that the name that you use here is the name that that report is published as. So you want to pick a name that's going to look nice when somebody's looking at your report in the web interface or in Teams. So we're going to call this one, what kind of data was this? R&D?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to wait for that.
How long does that usually take?
It depends on how much data you're putting in.
So we only had a little bit of data.
It could be
so
pretty instantaneous. It can take a little while.
Ah, gotcha.
Now, the one thing I didn't catch is, where did this guy just get published?
Well, you can open it.
Because the data set was in the Mark A project, it automatically published our report to the workspace that we were in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I didn't ask. A lot of times I'm working with data that I'm pulling from an external SQL service or an internal SQL server.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do that, you've got to tell it where to store that data because it's not already in Power BI.
Okay.
So here is our report. Right there in reports, you can go to app.powerbi to see it. But where this gets really powerful is you can now publish this report in Teams. So I'm going to come over to Teams. I'm going to add. Power BI is up at the very top. I'm going to give it a name. And we pick the workspace. Everybody that's a member of this workspace or in this team has access to the reports that are published to it. If you try to publish a report from one workspace to another, you may run into issues where the person trying to view it doesn't have access to it. Mm-hmm. So you do want to be mindful of where you're storing your Power BI report. And here we get the option to post about this tab in the channel. So we're going to do that. Now somebody can go into Teams, go into their research and development channel, and pull up their Power BI report. And we've got a couple options here to expand it to take up the whole screen. It gets rid of the channel and team view on the left. We can talk about the report.
So what's great about that is that that person doesn't have to download the standalone desktop app or go online to Power BI. It's just go to your normal team as you normally would, and the information is just right there.
Don't have to remember any websites. It's just, what teams are you in? What team is that data related to? Mm-hmm. Just go in there and it's a tab.
Very cool. Very cool.
And then if you do want to get to it on the web, because sometimes the web gives you better access to doing stuff, or say you want to edit the report that you published from the desktop app, you can open it in the online app and make some changes. Now, like I said, this isn't as fully featured. So if you're trying to write code behind some of these widgets, then you're going to need the desktop app. But if you're just wanting to switch a visual around or rearrange things, apply some different filters, then the web app works just great. that's what that edit report's all about. So let's see here. I wanted to, let me go back to my team. So I'm going to add another report here. And we're going to find our project. Whoop. Let's skip posting about that one. Give it a nice name. And you'll notice that depending on how many tabs you have at the top, there's going to be this More button with a number next to it for all of your extra tabs. But the tabs that you use the most often should be visible here, and you can move them around in this list to organize that a little bit better. So we got our new report, and I'm going to turn off our conversation, make that full screen. There you go. It works just like it does inside the web client or the desktop client. And we got our little expander guy over there. And we'll clear our filter. Now, right now we're doing filters inside the report itself, but we also have a filters blade on the right-hand side that will let us, oh, we didn't publish our report with those filters available. But we can drag that to the filters section. Where'd it go?
I don't think it dragged in. There it goes.
And the reason for that is I needed to drag it to, it was there. It depends on where you click. That one always messes me up. So page level filters can be applied anywhere on the page. Certain elements have their own custom filters available. And when you apply that custom filter, it does filter everything else on the page. But instead of having to use these on-screen filters, you've got that blade that will let you apply filters. Now, if I can, I'm going to go with the value. And you got a couple of different options depending on the type of data. If it's a number, you can filter using your greater than, less than. If it's a date, you can say this many days ago, this many months ago. So the filters are contextual. It's very handy. So what we just looked at is you can publish that report and you can access it directly in Teams, your business application, to get to all your data.
So how long would you say it would take to learn this? If you're already an Excel person, like you use Excel every day for your job function, to couple that with Power BI, how long would you say that would take, the learning curve is?
If you've already used Excel, it's going to take you less than 15 minutes to get your data into Power BI and just start clicking and adding reports and organizing your data.
All right.
But so I'm just going to show this to you real quick. If you are, well, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it for this particular type of data. If you are using a SQL data source, you can go in here and edit your SQL queries and write custom code behind the SQL queries, and there will be books and all sorts of developer documentation for how to write those visualizations and create things like a burn down chart using calculated values and all that stuff. So it can be learned in minutes, but it could take years to master, especially considering they're always adding new features.
That's true too. Well, any final thoughts, John?
No. Enjoy. Go out there, make some reports.
All right, well, thanks for joining us today. And thank you everyone for watching. Remember to click the like button if you like our content, and click the subscribe button if you want to see content as we're notified about content whenever we publish it, and click the bell. That'll actually notify you.
Click that notification bell.
All right, and thank you to our clients who make these live streams possible. Thanks everyone.